here in our training facility, we've helped more than 100,000 dog owners to overcome the same dog training challenges that you have. But tonight, we do this show for you. We want you to get involved, to ask your questions, and most importantly, we want to have some fun. So let's hop on board the training train. It's time to head on over to the train station. Tonight, we are here to answer the age-old question of who let the dogs out. On top of that, tonight we're going to be talking about some of the challenges
who did leave the dogs out?
That our students are facing. You know, we have online students from all over the world, and in-class students as well, you know, from our local area. And we're noticing a lot of people are encountering a lot of the same challenges as life is changing a little bit. And if you have a dog who you got during quarantine, which I'm sure a lot of you did, they could be facing some new challenges, things that they've never seen before. And in tonight's show, we're going to talk specifically to those issues and challenges that you guys might be having. Now, it's a little bit of a different show. We actually have a very special product thing we're going to show you guys that's exclusive to those of you who are watching tonight, or maybe you're watching the replay.
Station special.
At the train station special for the next 24 hours. In just a minute, I'll show you what it is. And actually, we used this product today to teach a dog a very important skill. But this is something that's going to be exclusive. It's 24 hours and then it's gone. So I'm excited about. I'm excited to show you guys what that is. But I think, you know, I don't want to waste any time. I want to get right into the teaching.
Let's do it.
And the talking. So with no further ado, tonight we're going to be talking about the new dog training challenges that you're having after lockdown. I'm Ken Steepe.
I'm Kayl McCann.
Welcome back to McCann Dogs. So we this idea came up when we were having conversations with some of our other trainers, and there were some really common things we were noticing from people. We also, Kayl and I, were in the city last week.
On the weekend, just this past weekend.
Yeah, this past weekend. And we noticed some of the struggles that people are having, but some of the struggles that we're having as well. Some of the things that we know that if you've seen the Euchre series on the channel, that, you know, she just hasn't been exposed to. Some new things that we need to introduce her to. And we want to make sure that you're doing that the right way. Now, I'm gonna get this out of the way. I gotta head over to the store just for a moment, because I want to talk about this 24-hour special. I'm excited for you guys to check this out. So let's head on over to the store. Now, in the intro, you guys saw a mother dog with her puppies. That mother dog's name is Purple. She's actually the dog, where Beeline came from, if you've watched the channel, Kayl's dog. And she is the dog owned by the co-founder of McCann Professional Dog Trainers, Deb McCann. Guess what? Deb's favorite color? Purple. Dog's name? Purple. So for tonight only, for the next 24 hours, we have these purple retrieve trainers. And if you have a food-motivated dog, this is exactly the kind of tool that you need to build some intensity for toys. There's a million different ways that you can use these kinds of things, and actually we have a video coming in, I believe it's going to come out maybe this Saturday, talking about how to get your food motivated dog more engaged with toys. But for you guys, for those of you checking out Train Station here, exclusive deal. We just got our new order of fuzzy tugs, the tug treat pouch, the puppy tugs, which I know everybody loves. We've sold a bunch already, and I haven't even told many people that they're back in stock, but also our retrieve trainers. But for those of you train station watchers, passengers, purple retrieve trainer. So check it out. The link is listed as mcanndogs.link/purple. So mcanndogs.link/purple. In just a minute, Dan Losselinks Luton is going to be able to fire off the quick link into the chat. But I wanted you guys to be aware of this. Let's head on back over to the train station. Oh, that was a short walk.
Just a hop, skip, and a jump.
Absolutely. Let's talk a little bit about some of the challenges people might be facing, why they might be having different challenges than, do you think in other situations.
Maybe we should do an introduction first?
Oh, yeah, good idea. Sure.
We always forget that. We get so comfortable with Train Station that
I'm so
just,
excited that you guys are here.
Yeah, we just get going. My name is Kayl. This is my husband, Ken, and we are trainers at McCann Professional Dog Trainers here in Flamborough, Ontario. And we have a dog training school that trains how many dogs now?
Well, I don't...
More than 80,000?
Before... More than 100,000 dogs in total.
Just see, he's like more than 100,000.
Yeah,
What's wrong with you? Why don't you know that number? I should know that number. You're right. But we work on family dog training skills. So we want to work on teaching the dogs to just be a great listener, to be a better part of your family, because our whole thing is we want your dog to learn to listen well so that you'll do things with them. You know, sometimes when dogs don't listen, or they're a pain in the butt, or they're difficult to walk, or they don't come back when they're called, we just end up leaving the backyard, or we don't end up really enjoying our dogs to the fullest. And we really know that, you know, we train our dogs a lot, and we work a lot with our students to make sure they have well-mannered, good listening dogs. And because of that, you can do so much more with them. You can take them on trips. You can, you know, go hiking, and you can play Frisbee, and you can do all these really fun things because they listen. So that's really what our purpose is about. But of course, tonight we are focusing a little bit on just kind of how the times are, you know, with people who have gotten a new dog, as Ken mentioned before. Sometimes it's not that easy just to go out and play with your dog if they're not going to listen. So we're going to give you some tips and tricks tonight about how to deal with some of the problems that may have occurred, you know, over the last few months because of lockdown, but also maybe have nothing to do with lockdown as well. We might talk about something and you might go, oh my gosh, I'm having that problem. This is perfect. I'm so glad we're talking about that. So
Kayl and I have talked about me getting a haircut. I've asked her to cut my hair several times, and I feel like it's getting a little bit out of control. Mm-hmm. So
you have some like wings going on.
I'm going to actually start a poll.
Oh, this better go.
I've only got yes, no.
Oh my goodness. Well, this is a very interesting poll, and I have a sneaky suspicion what the result is going to be. So while he's doing that, I mentioned that we have in-person classes, but, you know, I'm sure in a second we're going to do a little roll call here and see where everybody is joining in from. But if you're not sort of local to us and not within driving distance, we also have all of our dog training programs online. So we have students from, I think, 51 different countries at this point. So even if you're on the other side of the world, if you want to train with us and have us help you with your dog, you certainly can join us. And we'll talk about our programs a little bit later.
You might see people in the chat that are their names are in blue, and they have a little wrench beside their name. Those are our moderators. So we have several moderators. We have some instructors. Here you see Instructor Steve, Instructor Alexis, Instructor Shandy. You also see Dan, the moderator man. We call him Lots of Links Luton because they'll be dropping links in the chat for you. But those guys are our moderators, dog trainers, and they'll be able to, you know, answer some of your questions. Hopefully, give you some direction there. It'll also help us out to boot out those cat lovers in here. You know, dog lovers only. But. So that's who those people are. Now, Kayl mentioned at the top of her last little section there that we love finding out where you guys are joining us from. One of my favorite things is to check out the chat or go in after, go in to check out the replay and find out where you guys are joining us from. It's a bit of a geography lesson for me because I really didn't pay much attention in high school. So this is an opportunity to let us know where you're joining the train station from so that we can know exactly where you're joining us from. I'm a little bit concerned. So right now, regular haircut is winning. If you can't see the chat, we dropped a poll in there and I said, should Kayl shave Ken's head or give him a regular haircut? And regular haircut's winning right now. Thank you guys very much.
Guys, come on. That cannot happen. Shaving his head is much more fun. Amy Jo says, can I use the dog clippers? I sure can.
Yeah, she probably.
That's probably all I know how to use.
In fact, she probably would. Tim Dinnery says $5 for a real haircut.
Yeah, but I can just do it for free.
I guess what would a real haircut be? I mean, if your hair gets cut?
I don't know. I mean, you've had your hair cut before, dear.
Let's do our, yeah. Well, I'm just wondering what Tim thinks that means, what regular haircut means. So let's have a romper room moment. We have people joining us from Montreal, Northern Virginia. I see Ireland. Thanks for joining us. I know it's late there, Dave, in Ireland. Cincinnati, Iowa, Norway. Wow, cool. I don't even know what time it would be in Norway. Maryland, Wisconsin, New Hampshire, Newark, New Jersey, Michigan, Stafford, Virginia, Dallas, Texas. Thanks for joining us from Dallas there, Screekar. New York City, North York, Ontario. Peg L, one of our channel members, is joining us from Converse, Texas. Alberta, Florida, Cape Breton Island, Seattle, Arizona. Yeah, I bet it's hot there, Shannon. Somebody mentioned after seeing Hippie Shake's haircut, I'm scared for Ken. That's Ash said that. Yeah.
Thanks
Ash
a lot,
one of our
Ash.
online students. Yeah. Oh,
what the heck? I agree. I agree wholeheartedly with you, though.
Fort Road Massive joining in from Southeast Ireland. Gabby says, love your videos. Helps me prepare for my dog that I'm going to get. Danielle joining us from Halifax, Utah.
So good. Okay.
Well, let's dive into. I think the one thing that I noticed.
It's 1:40 a.m. in Norway.
It's quite late. The one thing that
awesome.
really prompted this conversation is something that a lot of people have mentioned to us, and no matter where you're in the world, it's likely restrictions have lifted at least a little bit. Who knows how long they'll stay like that, but regardless. A new challenge that a lot of dog owners have now that people can actually come to your house, maybe come and visit, is what on earth, how can you possibly handle having a wild and crazy puppy or young dog who loves people, and you're welcoming people into your house that dog's never seen before? We get asked this question so often, and we have lots of videos on the channel talking about this kind of thing, but now it's even more difficult because your dog hasn't been socialized. And when we use the term socialized, we mean giving them an experience, not introduce nose to nose with another dog. Yeah. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about giving them a foundation of learning and experience. Yeah. But a lot of dogs haven't had this opportunity before. So what do you need to know as a dog owner to give your dog the best possible situation? Especially if you're here, you're probably training your dog. You want to give them the best information. So how are you going to do that? Let's talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, definitely we can talk about some different strategies to work on this. And
purple pop.
It sounded like train brakes, maybe. Oh.
Good call.
So there's lots of different strategies that you can take with your dog, but our method of dog training, the McCann method, is all about building on repetitions of success. So rather than waiting for your dog to do something wrong and then saying you're wrong, I don't like that, we try to just mold and shape them to know what to do in the scenario by training them and showing them, and that often can be best done when there's not a lot of distractions around. So really what you need to do is have some tactics underneath your belt that you can kind of fall back on when people are coming to the house. And one of the best things that you can do is make sure someone gives you a heads up that they're coming over. They can give you a quick text when they get in the driveway,
it's
or
so easy
whatever
to do
it
now.
might be. Yeah, totally.
And we talk about this, when we had our young dog. When we still have the young dog, but when people are coming over, just give me a shout when you get to the door, or give me a shout before you ring the doorbell. That kind of thing can really set you up to set your dog up for success, because there's nothing more challenging than when like the UPS guy knocks on the door or something, because it's unplanned. You don't know what to do. And at that point, you're training reactively rather than proactively. And proactively has a lot higher success rate.
Yeah, and what you need to remember is that some of the most unwanted behaviors that we sort of incur when we have people coming over, whatever it might be barking, jumping, getting overexcited, maybe nipping and biting because they're so excited. There's so many things that start to happen, and sort of the bad thing about all of those particular behaviors is that they're really self-rewarding. So if you're not there to stop those behaviors from happening and prevent them from happening, and the dog gets to bark for a couple minutes as somebody comes to the door, they get to jump all over that person for a few minutes, for a few seconds when that person comes in the door, that is self-rewarding. So the dog says, woo, I got to do it for 10 seconds. I can't wait till the next time that happens. So prevention is going to be key. And that's why it's really important that you have some prevention techniques in place already just in everyday life with your dog, even when no one's around. So when that UPS guy or the Amazon guy shows up, you don't have your dog free running around the house if they are, the type of dog that could maybe react poorly. I might have that dog on a leash. I might prevent my dog access to the door, maybe by keeping the door shut. we have a sunroom. So when Euchre was younger, we would keep that door shut so she couldn't get to the door without us being there. We utilize baby gates. So there's lots of things that we do to restrict her access so that she can't get into situations where we know she's going to be wrong, so that we can instead give alternative options that are going to teach her what to do. If dog training is all about teaching your dog what you should do in this moment instead, and making that new thing that you want them to do equally or way more rewarding than jumping or barking or whatever it might be. And that takes practice, because barking and jumping is super fun. Sitting on a loose leash and being quiet, not so fun. So how do we make it fun? How do we make the dog understand that that's actually the better choice to do? And the only way you're going to do that is to make sure that you're cutting out all of the repetitions of the bad behavior that is really self-rewarding for the dogs.
Instructor Shannon and I record a podcast every week, and recently we were talking about the value of management, why it's so important, and in fact, I would say it's more than 50% of your training.
Management,
is
100%.
It is at least just as important as training your dog and going through the
and it's
steps.
the thing that people make the most mistakes in.
100%.
They can get their leash on, they can get their bait bag on and be like, I'm going to train sit stays, I'm going to train this, and then the other 90% they let them jump off and on the couch and bark obsessively or whatever it might be, and they don't understand that those management and training things, they go hand in hand. And management is huge, because that's where you build relationship with your dog, that's where you gain respect and you show your dog you're a good leader. That's where the dog really starts to say, you are the coolest person in my life. So and that makes the training a little bit easier.
And they don't get to learn that your shoes taste good, that it's fun to jump on your neighbors. They don't get to learn these things. And if they never, this is one reason we never have problems with the dogs, like having accidents frequently in the house, or chewing on the floor, on the trim or something like that, because we don't allow them to do that. So management comes into play when we're talking about what are you going to do with people coming to your house. Management can play a big role.
Yeah.
Now, I know we talked a little bit before the show, and you thought maybe you might do some demos.
Yeah. Maybe our train station team, who happen to be in another location of our studio, can send our demo dog down for us. Wink, wink, hint, hint, nudge, nudge.
Yeah.
But while that's happening, I do want to mention something just to kind of prompt this. So we're gonna show you a couple different exercises that you guys can do to work on getting your dog to be more well-behaved and more calm-mannered when people come to your house. But I also wanted to tell you that the best time to practice this stuff, these types of exercises, is number one, when no one is around, so you're building a lot of value and making it really easy for the dogs. Hey.
Oh, everyone's very excited.
Quiet.
It's party time. Hi
there,
buddy.
is a puppy that
at
just
how
came
cute
running
she is.
down the stairs, and the dogs got very excited.
Did you get very
Oh
excited,
my
buddy?
goodness. So what I was trying to say is you want to build a lot of value for the dog understanding those skills individually. Hippie shake. That is just about enough of that.
Oh, she's also very
But
excited.
the next phase would be to work on using family members as a distraction. So rather than waiting till the random person comes up and you're not ready, have your husband or your wife or your kids go outside and practice knocking on the door and coming in. And actually, for some dogs, that might be even more distracting, because they are going, oh, that's that person that I love. But what's cool about this is that you can practice the exercise 5 times in a row. I actually did a private lesson last month on over Zoom with somebody who had a dog that was just going bonkers, bananas, when her husband would get home from work. And so we set the situation up, and it was awesome, because her husband came home from work about 15 times in the span of a half an hour, because he would come in the house and we would work on training with the dog. And the first couple times was horrible, of course. And then we would send him back out and we would come back in. And about halfway through the repetitions, the dog started to figure out that holding a sit and not barking and being crazy actually led to her husband coming in and greeting her and saying hello. And so the dog started to put 2 and 2 together. But because we could practice over and over and over and over again in that same session, we made miles of changes with the dog, versus like once a day or once a week when that random person comes. You don't get the repetition. Dogs need rep after rep after rep of being shown what to do, with a lot of rewards to make it worth their while.
It's been a while, and I know
good.
there's a lot of new people here. Drop new in the chat if you are brand new to the train station. But you guys haven't heard me toot yet, and it's about that time.
To toot?
To toot.
Oh.
Because we're going to head on over.
Okay, let's do it.
Sound good?
Look how adorable she's being.
I know, those guys can't
have
see
a
her.
thing on so that you can't see how adorable she is.
Let's go over so we can.
Okay, let's show some training.
What do you think, buddy?
Okay, Bubba. Off. Here.
Okay, well, for those of you who are wondering what on earth I'm talking about and why I need to toot so much, it's time to head on over to the train station.
You know what I don't have? Hold on. Never mind. I do. I'm just going to switch her house line for, come here, babe, for a leather leash here. Okay, so we're going to talk about a few options that we can do to train our dogs to have better choices when people come in the house. So we don't always have the same particular routine with our dogs. We have a couple different things that we do, and I want to show you guys 3 things that you can work on as alternative behaviors to your dog going crazy when people come in the house. And once they're settled after doing these items, then of course you could work on the greeting part. But we don't want to let the dog say hello to people if they're pulling and barking and being crazy, because if somebody says, oh, it's okay, I love dogs, and they start petting the dog as they're jumping and being silly, you're just reinforcing the dog for that behavior. So calm, relaxed, controlled behavior earns all the pets and the love and the affection. So first things first is I find with a young dog who's adolescent that maybe doesn't have a lot of training yet, super important to have the dog extremely comfortable being in their crate or going into their crate on command. And I need to make sure that going in the crate is a really positive thing. So what I'm actually going to start off doing is making sure Euchre is very happy to go in and out of her crate, and you're going to put it on command. So I know it sort of seems really like has nothing to do with saying hello to people, but when somebody jumps, knocks on the door, rather than her running to the door, I could say, Euchre, in your crate. Good girl. I could throw a cookie in there. Yes. I could reward a few times. Good girl. Yes. Okay. Good girl. And then I can release her out. Now there's a couple different things that I'm doing here that helps build control. And that is when I allow her to come out of the crate, I'm going to give her permission first. So to make it exciting to go in, I'm just going to take some food. I have some tuna treats here. Ready? In your crate. I'm going to throw it in. Now before she can come out, I'm going to reward her. Yes. Good girl. I'm going to make it valuable to remain inside. Now, but in order to let her come out, I'm going to give her permission. Okay. I'm not just going to let her come in and out when she wants, because eventually I want her to be able to go in and remain in there. I'm not even going to bother closing the door at this point. I just want her to go in and out. Now, once you've done lots of repetitions of telling her in your crate or whatever command you want to use and throwing the treat in, you can then start to see if your dog will go in on command without the prompt of the little treat ahead of time. So I'm going to go ahead and try that. Ready? In your crate. Yes, good girl. I'm going to build value. Good girl. Now, if people were actually coming to the door, I would shut the door so I could get up and let them in. Yes. But the next phase of teaching this is shutting the door and then rewarding her so she understands that's a really good thing. And anytime I'm going to open the crate door, yes, good girl. You can see oh, you almost forgot your rules, baby. You can see she's making a conscious choice to stay inside. Now, we actually have a YouTube video on how to train this. We did this a few weeks ago, I think, with the Black Lab puppy, showing it from start to finish. So if you want a bit of a tutorial, yes, on that, we can find that video for you. But the reason why this is important is I'm keeping Euchre under control so that by the time I get her out, okay, sit. Good girl. I have a bit of a brain. My dog's thinking a little bit more, which means when she's thinking a little bit more, she's less likely, here, babe, to run to the door and get crazy. So going in and out of the crate is going to be really important, and you're going to utilize the crate so you don't have to be managing the dog and dealing with people at the door all at the same time. That's going to be a prevention tactic. Now, if your dog's great with that, the next thing that you could do is work a little bit on giving your dog a spot to go on. So if you have a mat or a bed or something, I'm just going to lay this towel out here to work on my spot training. You're going to teach your dog to go to a mat or a place and lie down and remain there. And I cannot tell you how many times a day I use this technique with Euchre. She's a young, busy border collie who just wants to be doing stuff all the time. And sometimes I just need her out of my hair. Now, she's 8 months old now, so she has gotten to the point where she completely understands not to go to the bathroom in the house. She knows how to ask to go out. She doesn't chew things in the house, things like that. Oh, yes. anymore, but she can just be a pain because she's busy. So rather than putting her in a crate all the time, we've now started to implement go and lie down. And this is something that I'll use when people come to the door, or even if people come over. So what I'm going to do is same sort of thing as the crate. I'm going to start by using some food. I'm going to draw her over to the better mat and simply lure her into a down position and reward her several times. Now you'll notice I do train this with my dog on a leash so that she can't just in the middle of a training session decide to take off and do her own thing. Again, same rules apply. When I'm working on a control exercise, I'm going to train my dog to maintain the position until she hears me say, okay, or whatever release command you want to use. So it's not lie down for 2 seconds, eat the food, and get up and do your own thing. It's wait for permission. And I'm simply going to repeat this process, and I'm going to put a bit of a command on it. On your bed. On your bed. Yes, good girly. And I'm going to reward several times. Now, when I reward, I do need to reward her in the down position. What you don't want to do is this. Yes. Oh, Euchre, you're so smart. We've already proofed through this. But what a lot of people do is they'll say yes, and they'll hold the food up here, and then the dog will get up out of position. You don't want that. Now, Euchre understands that she has to hold position in order to get the treat, so she even knows to stay down in that moment. That was really good, girl. Okay, good girl. Now, once your dog gets the idea, you can hear a knock, knock, knock on the door. First thing that I'm going to do before I go to the door, Euch, on your bed. On your bed. Good girl. Yes, wait there. And then I can go to the door from there. Yes, good girl.
Why don't I simulate a knock on the door?
Okay, go for it.
Knock, knock, knocking on the door.
Okay. Wow. That was great.
Guns N' Roses
Please raise the tally on me shaving Ken's head, and then I can maybe duct tape his mouth at the same time. Anyways, what I wanted to say to you is this, for this exercise, this is something that Ken and I have done lots of times with Euchre. So Ken will go outside and knock on the door, and I will practice on your bed. He'll come in, we'll reward, and then we'll switch so that we don't do it when somebody new comes in. We actually start to condition her, okay, that when somebody knocks on the door, to go and find that place. Lie down. Yes, good girl. Lie down. Then go to the door from there. And when she was a puppy, there was lots of times where she would go, oh my God, there's Dad. And he would want to go and say hello. But because the leash is on, okay. So if she gets off, I can grab the leash, I can prevent her from jumping, and I can lead her back to her spot. Oops, go and lie down. That's a good girl. Lie down. I'm not going to reward her. I'm going to make her kind of hang out for a second. And then, yes, go back and reward. But giving them a specific spot to remain in can be really helpful for more self-control. And again, giving her a positive alternative behavior to do rather than reacting to whoever's at the door. You can use this when people are at the door. You can also use this when people come in the house. Maybe if you want to sit around, I could bring her better mat. I've actually utilized this technique with her when I went to a barbecue. I brought a little mat with me, and when I sat in the chair, I put the mat beside me and had her lie on the mat. And she got off the mat a bunch of times, you know, as we started because it was a bunch of new people. But then she settled in and was like, oh, I remember this exercise. And she was able just to lie calmly. But I have put so much value for lying on the bed that she learns, okay, I'm going to be here for a bit. See how she's laying down and putting her head down? This is actually a pretty monumental moment, I'm going to go ahead and say. I am uber impressed right now. So this is great because I would say even a month ago, this dog would not do this. But because we've done so much training and she's starting just to figure things out, she's starting to make better choices. I'm so impressed with you right now. What a good girl. Yeah, and maybe we'll do that with control position. Okay, I'm going to show you one more. And this is really good if you have a jumper. So if you have a dog that really likes to jump on people out of excitement, so you don't even need to be at home at the door for this. You could be simply out for a walk with your dog and they see a person, they start wiggling, they start pulling. Giving our dogs an alternative behavior to do in that moment is going to be really helpful. The other thing you're going to need to think about is distance. The closer you are to a person, the harder it is for your dog to kind of maintain a brain. So you need to find that threshold or that distance that you can be from that person where your dog can say, I see you, I'm excited, but I can hold position. So let's talk a little bit about this sit placement first. So when we're practicing this, we are not necessarily going to say sit and allow the dog to sit anywhere. We're actually going to be very specific as to where our dog sits for this. Okay, can you get up for a sec? Okay. Okay, I'm just going to move this because I don't want to confuse her about whether she's supposed to be on it. Come here, Missy.
She did a pretty great job of remaining in position.
Very good job. Okay, so she's pulling towards Ken. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to shorten up on my leash, and I'm going to tuck her in at my left-hand side. Sit. Good girl. And I'm going to place her in a sit. Actually, I'm going to turn this way ever so slightly so the camera can see a bit better. Good girl. Now I'm going to put slack in the leash. And oops, sit. Good girl. Now, that little mistake that she made was actually sort of came from a good place. I just rewarded her about 20 times for lying down a second ago. So I'm not going to allow her to lie down now, but I'm not going to make a big deal of it. There. Look, we're sitting now. We're sitting now. Yes, we are. Good. Sit. Good girl. Sit. Oops. Yes, good. So once I have her sitting on a loose leash, now I could work on having people come around her. So I'm going to get a couple treats ready. And as Ken approaches, I'm going to yes and feed her. Good, sit, yes, for holding a sit. So I want the focuser of my dog to be more on me and the treats than on the person. Now, Ken is being really nice right now. So he is coming in. He's being very calm. He's being very neutral. You can coach your family members to do this, and that's great. It is so much harder to coach people on the street about this, so you need to pick and choose your distance wisely. If I have a person that's like, oh, can I see your dog? Often I say, you know what, she's just not ready for that yet. She's in training, and I actually won't let her go and say hello. I might look a bit snobby, but what I don't want her to do is race up, jump all over someone, and then get rewarded after me trying to work so hard. So coach the person to be calm. If the dog is doing well, I could practice with a family member asking him to be a little bit more exciting. So she's doing great. So maybe,
oh, you're doing
oops.
so well.
So she broke the sit. I told her, oops, I'm going to place her back into that sit, but I'm going to then put slack in the leash. Good girl. Yes. Good sit. The slack in the leash is so important here because if I'm doing this, good girl, good sit, good girl, and I'm holding her back, number one, this is not a very positive way to be training. And number two, she's not learning anything. She's just basically saying, oh, mom's going to string me up like a puppet and I don't have to use my brain. I can still be exciting here. So I am going to place her back with using pressure on the leash. But once she's there, I'm going to put slack in the leash and give her an opportunity to make a decision. If she makes the wrong one, I'll let her know that. If she makes the right one, I will let her know that by rewarding. Good. Yes. Good. Sit. Good. Okay, you can be more exciting now.
Oh,
sit.
Very
good.
Oh,
yes. Good. Sit. Dog. Yes. Good. Oh, sit. Yes. Oh, good. Sit. Yes. Good. Dog. Sit. Oh, good girl. Yes. Good girl. Okay, gracious. I need Rick. And that's what you can do. Once you've rewarded the dog, you can then say, okay, leave. So he was really exciting there. And you could see her looking at him, looking at me. But I kept rewarding her, making this a valuable place to be. So that hopefully once I'm out on the street, okay, Yuke, and we're going for a walk and I see a person, I can then say, Euchre, get in. Get in, sit. And I can start to teach her, this is your default position. Come in close, come and sit beside me. Let the people with the dogs bypass us. Let the person with the kid bypass us, whatever it might be. I have my little dog under control. Once we're settled and we're ready to go, I can go from there. But what I don't want to do is just hold on to the leash for dear life and just let her make those errors. And if I find that what I'm around is just too overwhelming for her, she cannot get a brain, I need to remove myself and get far enough away that I can find success, because the only way she is going to learn that sitting beside me is as enjoyable as jumping on someone or wiggling at someone is if she gets to rehearse doing this and being rewarded for it over and over and over again. So it does take a little bit of work, but those are 3 suggestions for you on how to deal with your dog's overzealous behavior around people. A, put them in the crate, but make it fun. B, teach them to go onto a place or a spot and lie and be calm. You're going to use that all the time. And C, work on a control position. Have them get in and sit, learn to remain there. But those things need to be trained completely away from people, away from distractions, so that you can build value after value after value so your dog says, I love being in that position.
Great.
Okay. Euchre, you're a rock star.
Kayl and Euchre lighting up the stage out here. It was lots of good information, and I think again we touched back on management and how important that is. Now I wanted to briefly mention that we have an evil genius in the chat, Jim Geyser. Now, great, shave Ken's head on live until Euchre leaves her place, then leave it cut as is.
I love love that.
It's terrifying. Thank goodness you weren't here earlier when we were doing the
No,
poll.
you should be pleased though, because I should be pleased because I have good faith that my dog will hold position.
Yeah, that's true. Really,
That's
really
hilarious.
funny. I did want to mention now, some of you guys have just gotten here, you weren't here in the beginning, you don't know yet about the McCann Dogs Retrieve Trainer 24-hour. This is the purple. Now, if you were here at the beginning, you saw Purple is the dog that was the mother dog in that video. Co-founder of McCann Professional Dog Trainers, Deb McCann, has a dog named Purple. So tonight only, for the next 24 hours, these Purple Retrieve Trainers are available. If you've been to our store before, you'll know we have also blue everything. This is the Purple series, only 24 hours, and then they're gone. So if you want to check that out, I think Dan, lots of links, Luton can drop a link in the chat for us. Mm. So I see Vicky W. dropping the super chat. I'm going to grab Vicky's super chat here. And I wonder if Euchre might need to go out.
Yep, I can send her back upstairs even. Good girl. You want to turn his lights back off?
Yeah. So Vicky says, love you guys. I'm getting a Morkie Pup Harmony on Saturday. What's the best way What's the best way to let people know that I don't want them to hold her without seeming rude? And the best way to potty train outside at an apartment building. So let's start. I'm going to start at the second one. I would definitely do a little bit of recon and go out and see if there's areas around that don't have a lot of dog traffic. You'll need to talk to your vet about what risks there are for your dog and what stage of vaccinations they are. I know this is a challenge for a lot of apartment dwellers. So an alternative is having a grass mat or a potty pad or something like that on your balcony. If you have a balcony, the real challenge for people that are struggling with potty training, and I know pad training is so popular, but I'll tell you, the 99.89% of the issues that people have with potty pad training is transitioning away from them, or the puppy will go around and have accidents all over the house. So it does create a bit of confusion. But if you can give a very definitive line of where the puppy can go pee and where they can, it's very helpful. Alternatively, talk to your vet, see if there's an area around your apartment building that has next to no dog traffic and what the risks are in your area. I know that's sort of situation dependent, but some vets will say, like, oh, you know what, outside of these few things you need to be aware of, maybe your area is safe, but do make sure that you consult with your vet first. First part of the question. Best way to let people know that I don't want them to hold her without seeming rude. Now this is...
I can speak to this one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've had actually two dogs in particular that I've actually had a lot of trouble with this. The first one was Hippie Shake, our poodle. She's a toy poodle, so she's tiny, super cute. And when she was a puppy, everybody wanted to hold her and touch her. And the second one was Beeline, who's our youngest border collie, who's a little bit unsure about people. And I plastered her all over my Instagram channel. And so anytime I would be out or at a dog show or whatever, people would rush because they would be like, oh, this must be Beeline. And that was like the worst thing that I could have ever done, because all those people rushing her and trying to, I actually had one lady come up and just pick her up, and poor Bee's like eyes like bulged out of her head because she's not that kind of dog. So here's what I did. I always blamed the training, and blame's not even a good word to use, but I would always say, you know what, I would be happy for her to say hello to you, but I'm training her right now, so can you help me do this? And for B, who was a bit worried, and maybe your dog's not worried, but what I did, this will work the same thing, is I would even pass them a few treats, and then I would get B sitting, and then I would let them bend down and just open their hand and let them feed her, or whatever it might be. Or with Hippie Shake, I would say, I'm happy to have you say hello, but let me hold her. She's a little bit unsure. Let's just build her confidence. And then I would let them pet her, and then I would read my dog's body language. If I could sort of see her tense up and being like, I'm not too sure, then I would just say, okay, thanks, have a good day, and then I would go from there. Polite, but here's what I'm doing. Or if you have the opposite problem, maybe your dog's like wild and crazy, I would just step back and say, hey, settle. And I would just hold them a little tighter in my arms, and then, okay, you can say hello again. I just take control of the situation in a really positive way, but I always go back to saying, I'm training the dog right now. Can you help me? And if they're most people, I actually don't think I've ever met somebody who's like, no. Usually
Gimme.
they're like, oh, okay, cool, and
Right.
they're like really cool about it. So I think you just have to control the narrative, and you're your dog's advocate. So this goes for everybody with their dogs, no matter the situation. You are responsible for your dog's well-being, their experiences. They, whether they feel that the life is about sunshine and roses, whatever it might be, that is your job. So you need to be super aware that you're not putting your dog in a scenario where they could feel otherwise. That goes for people and dogs.
The reason that we went into Toronto recently with little Euchre is that she hadn't had the opportunity. There are so many new sights and smells and sounds and things that she hasn't had access to up until that point. And we knew that we wanted to be very intentional about introducing her to some of these new things. And you may be thinking, my dog's been out and around, but every new situation, dogs can't generalize very well. So all of these new places, new situations, new people, new, what do you call it? What do you call those train car things that go on the road?
I don't know.
Rail?
It's like a trolley.
Trolley car? Yeah. That sounds right. Somebody's going to probably know it in the chat.
Yeah, it is a trolley.
Is it a trolley?
Yeah.
She had never seen something like that. In fact, I had only seen that kind of thing a handful of times in my life.
Ken goes to the city to get socialized.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the reality of it. And identifying that your dog, this will be new for your dog, and that you're very careful and tactical about how you introduce them to some of these things can make a world of difference.
Yeah, it was a
Streetcar.
streetcar.
Right. Yeah.
Streetcar, yeah. Good job, Lex.
Yeah.
Euchre actually wasn't too bothered by the streetcar.
Not at
I think
all.
you were more like, oh, there's a streetcar.
Yeah,
But
neat.
about 2 minutes after we saw the streetcar, though, we went to walk down a set of stairs, and there was a family who was trying to lift their baby carriage down. Remember?
Stroller.
Stroller down the stairs, and Euchre was like, "What is happening?" She was wide-eyed, a little bit unsure. But we've worked a lot on that get in and sit, like I just showed you guys, and so I went right into training mode. We went off the path, off to the side. I had her get in and sit. I would let her look, and she would sort of be a little bit unsure. I would touch her, get her attention, reward her. And by the time the people sort of got down to the bottom, she went from being like, oh my God, what is that? To, what is that? That's kind of cool. And she was completely relaxed about it. But I did not let her lunge towards it. I didn't let her pull me towards it. I didn't let her bark at it. I moved myself away, again, lowering that threshold. And I went into a control position, something that I know she knows really well and that she is happy to do. And then that's how I sort of conquered that thing. And we actually defaulted into that sit at that side many times throughout the walk, as we saw a whole bunch of things that she's never been around that many people at one time. She's never been around that many dogs at one time. So it was a lot of walk for a bit and then work some control.
People are probably going to try to rush a lot of these things. They're going to think like, okay, I've got the next hour. I'm going to go out and socialize or get my dog socialized.
I said baby carriage.
Which means, all the experiences,
From the 1960s.
all the experiences that the dog might have, but don't. Think of it like a ladder, whether that's the distance, that's the level of noise, that's the level of distraction. You're slowly climbing this ladder. And a great example of that is there was a bunch of kids playing baseball at this park. And Euchre's never seen anything like that.
She
and
thought that was the greatest thing alive.
Yeah, the kids were making lots of noise and having fun. And before
The
going any
balls were
farther,
flying.
M. Barta dropping a $10 super sticker. Thank you for the super sticker.
Okay, it's like a little pear dude.
Yeah, it's very cute.
With a headband.
So what we did is we approached from the big side, from the outfield side of the ball diamond, and we didn't get really close.
Standing in our field.
We didn't get really close. We didn't try to rush or push the issue. We wanted to make sure that that Euchre looked comfortable, that she felt comfortable, that she was still listening, because that can be a great warning sign. Once your dog is just fixed on things or seems really distracted or kind of shutting down, you know that this is too much. I need to get the dog out of this situation.
Yeah, you've passed the threshold of them being able to function. So, and actually what I will say is, going to the city with her was really wide opening for us to sort of see like, okay, there's like a bunch of things that she needs to experience. However, one thing that I was so pleased about is her level of training. Because I've trained, to walk on a loose leash, to sit at my side, to listen to her name, those to lie down when I ask. She knows how to do those in all of these settings. And it was really awesome to see that because I've worked on the training skills, when we then plunked her into the city, although it was a little bit shaky in some moments, she had great training. And that's why it's so important to train the dogs, because then you can take that dog and you can take them to the city, you can take them to the cottage, you can do all these different experiences. And although when you change locations, it gets a little bit harder. If your dog sort of says, I like listening to you, I find you valuable, you're my person. There's lots of times where I could see she was a bit overwhelmed and she kind of look at me to say like, okay, like, help me out here, Mom, because we've developed that bond, and that helps you get through a lot of those harder situations. So I say that's actually a plus from COVID and lockdown, because we end up spending a lot of time together with our dogs. And if you spent that time building skills, building relationship, those types of things, it's going to be easier when you get around some of the distractions that maybe they've not seen before.
One of our Hurt Dog supporters, Sharon Leggett, asks a question. My 9-month-old standard poodle is spooked by the sound of traffic splashing the water on the road after a rain. That's not that uncommon. You might be surprised. Lunges and is very anxious. Do you have any suggestions?
Yeah, that can be difficult. That can be a difficult thing to set up exactly, but I would maybe start off with sound of traffic stuff. So you could even, this is maybe going to sound a bit abstract, but you can counter condition the dog even at home by putting sounds of traffic like on YouTube and just rewarding the dog for laying and being comfortable. And I might even start by doing something that's really fun for the dog so that they're not really thinking about, the sound of traffic. You really have to decide, is it the sound of traffic, or is it the water? Like, what exactly in that situation is the trigger for your dog? And then you also might just work with, around some water, like maybe have somebody spray the hose and then work, several feet away, getting your dog to do some listening skills so that you can recondition your dog to do different behaviors. And then of course, if you're out on the street and the splashing water happens, you just have to be aware, it's rained, you're taking the dog for a walk. You need to say to yourself, previous times this scenario has happened, so what can I do differently here? Maybe you go off to the side if cars come by, so you're not just letting the situation happen when you haven't really worked through it. So we have the option of training through it, we have the option of prevention, and then we have the option of setting the scenario up in a more controlled place, which takes work, I know, but that extra work will really help your dog in the new setting.
Now, I love everything you said there.
Do you know what I said?
Yeah, I a little bit. A little bit. There's a lot
I know
going
you
on.
just believe me.
Now, this kind of advice is hard to get, especially from a seasoned professional. But you can actually get access to these kinds of answers if you're one of our students.
Yeah.
And maybe talk briefly about what our student membership's like.
Yeah. So we have, as I mentioned at the start of the live stream here, we have some online training programs, but we do like to talk about them a little bit because they're not your typical online program. So a lot of times when you take an online program, you watch some videos and like you kind of do things on your own. I think sometimes people get a little bit worried about that they're not going to be able to, get as much of the program as they need to. But we have worked really hard to develop a program where you literally have access to professional dog trainers, almost every single day of the week to help and guide you through your program. So if you're watching a video and you're working on walking and your dog is reacting to the water that's going off to the side, you can take a quick video or you can talk to us about it and we'll give you specific training techniques to work on that particular problem. So you're never alone, which is really great. Now, if you have a dog that's under 5 months old, we have a course called Puppy Essentials, which is geared towards dogs that are a little bit younger and some of the exercises that we want them to work on. And then if you have a dog that's over 5 months, we have a really great course called Life Skills. And that one's directed towards dogs who are a little bit older, of course, that need to start working on walking on a leash, coming when they're called, so on and so forth. So the two programs are quite different from one another, yet they complement each other. We also sell bundles, so you can actually get quite a big discount if you sign up for both. So if you have a young dog and you're going to go all the way through. But just like we're doing this live stream today, we actually do weekly Zoom live classes where only the people who are in the program, we get together and we talk about, we do deep dives on all kinds of things, leadership, nipping, walking on leash, all those types of things. And you have a chance to ask questions. And, there's hundreds of students in the program and you just have access to being able to see everybody's journey, which I think you learn so much. And so many people make friends and it's really, really, really awesome. So you can check that out if you want some help.
And answers for daily questions. I mean, these daily questions come up. So this is a great example. Thanks for dropping that, Kayl. I need to say a big thank you to Mary H for dropping the $10 super sticker. Mary joins us nearly every show.
I want to say one more thing.
Yeah.
A lot of people are saying, "Oh, I love your YouTube videos or whatever," and we love our YouTube videos as well. But I want to tell you one difference between the YouTube videos and our online courses. YouTube videos give you a sort of a sneak peek on a training exercise, and it's like
it's a safe for everybody bland.
It's a safe for everybody.
Yeah.
We want to make sure that it's a user-friendly thing. The difference between our online classes is that it's put together in a specific program, totally different content than what we have on YouTube, and it is specifically geared to your particular dog, so that if, not every dog is exactly the same, and that's what we love so much about our training. We've seen thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of dogs. So there is very few times where somebody says, "Oh, I have this problem," and we've seen 300 dogs have that same problem. So that's what's so great about the program is the guidance and the specific stuff, which is even better. Our YouTube channel is awesome for sure, but the online course is going to give you more specifics.
I don't play golf very well, but I played a lot of golf when I was younger.
Where are you going with this?
And I was terrible.
At golf?
Yeah. No matter how much I practiced or played, I sliced the ball so bad I'd have to face almost 90 degrees to hit it that way. And I go for one golf lesson, and all of a sudden I'm hitting the ball straight. I think of these kinds of things. If you get a little bit of guidance, it might be the littlest mistake that you're making, but in our courses, there's also a dog trainer there to answer your questions. Stuff comes up. So there's a huge difference between pre-recorded content and live dog training.
Totally.
Norma Nelson, drop in the super chat. She says, Feeny now, a new thing she is doing, wants to sit on an angle and look up at me when I ask for a get-in position. Any advice?
Yeah, I do have some advice. This is actually really common. A lot of dogs will sit on an angle because they sort of think they can get a better view of the person. That way we see a lot of dogs kind of shimmy to the side. So number one, Norma, you don't want to be rewarding her for doing that. If she's getting any rewards from that position, she's going to default there. Yeah. But there's actually, can I go to the train station?
Oh, why don't you head on over? It's time for me to toot.
Okay.
You have a dog?
I do. B. Okay, I'm just going to show you with the dog real quick.
Hold on one sec.
Because this is a little easier. Okay, I'm just going to show you. Oh, beeline. I'm just going to show you with the dog real quick because this is often what happens. So if people do a get in, this is a common thing that people do. So they reward with their hand very close to the body. I don't know if you guys can see. There we go. They reward with their hand very close to the body. And what happens is the dog wants to line up with the person's hand. So they end up sitting on an angle. So I can actually just change a little bit here. So if I tell her get in and I reward with my hand close to my body, see how it causes her bum to be off to the side. So here's what you can do differently. When you lure her into a get in, Norma, what you're going to do is you're going to take a step back, and when you bring the food in, hold your hand a few inches away from your side so the nose is in line with the spine. So when I feed, see how my hand's off of my body versus in tight? That's going to help my dog to sit more straight. Now, once she's in position, I'm going to yes and reward multiple times. Again, delivering with her head straight to her body. That's really going to help. Second thing is that if she does start to shimmy out to the side, what I don't want to do is pull out food and lure her back, because a lot of dogs will say, ooh, I shimmy out here, mom gets out a treat, and she sits me back. So if I get a dog that does a lot of this, I'm actually going to physically tuck her in at my side. Yes, good girl, with the leash on if you're being a better dog trainer than I am. And then I would yes and reward that position. Or I could take a step forward, line her up, sit, and then tuck her little bum in beside me. So the only time, yes, she gets that reward is when she's at my side. But make sure that you're not feeding it if you're getting it wrong, and hand out to the side can make a massive difference for that particular problem. Okay.
Okay.
Here, Beeps.
Yeah, you might as well head back
Go, 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 go.
So, M. Barda has got a question. Hello, this topic is so important right now. How do I handle teaching the place command while guests are coming over when he stays in place, but barking incessantly? Thanks so much.
Well, it's good that you're getting that he stays in place, but barking incessantly. So in that scenario, you're going to need to work on a quiet command, and you're going to need to interrupt the barking. And this also might mean that you need to have the dog further away so that the view or the whatever the dog's barking at, whether it's people, isn't is easily tempting for the dog, so get a little bit further away. When you're getting barking, you can tell the dog quiet. You could even lift up on the leash to say quiet, and then once he stops barking, you can loosen the leash and then praise from there. But you want to be careful that you don't, sometimes what happens is when dogs are barking in that moment, the person can sometimes make it worse by the energy or how they're reacting to the dog. So sometimes when the dogs are sitting and people are like, quiet, quiet, settle, quiet, quiet. Right. And they're so energetic. You might as well be saying bark, 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 bark because of how you're being. So when your dog's being like that, tell them quiet, calm, settled voice command, and then place him back into a sit. Even if he's sitting already, going through that action will just sort of get his attention. You could also use touch on the dog to get them focused, to interrupt the barking. And then once you have a few seconds of calm, it might even just be 1 second in the beginning, quickly yes and reward when you're not getting barking, and then you can build from there. But it's great that you're getting the sit, but the whole point is to get calm behavior, not just sitting and barking excitedly. So I also would suggest moving further away. This is the type of dog that I would also set up with family members and friends so that you can rehearse it a bunch of times in a row rather than randomly when people are coming over. That dog needs more repetition so you can get the dog on the right track.
Separation anxiety is probably something that you may have started to see already. I mentioned at the top of the show how there's sort of different levels of restrictions or easing of restrictions, and real life is happening again. You can't be at home for 23 hours of the day with your dog. Maybe you have to go to work. Maybe you have to go out and run errands. Maybe you've got the kids have got sports. Maybe whatever the thing is. There's lots of times now where we've got to leave our dogs for longer, and a lot of people complain that they've developed or they've created separation anxiety. And there's a few things that you can do to limit the response that your dog has when it comes to things like separation anxiety. Let's talk a little bit about, what people are seeing right now and how they're cueing this sometimes for their dogs.
Yeah, well, I think sometimes with the lockdowns and stuff, we're spending a lot more time with our dogs than maybe we have in the past. I definitely notice that with our own dogs. Like, we're spending way more time with them now than before, because we would always be out teaching or out there. We're spending a lot more time at home. And then what starts to happen is when you're spending more time at home, dogs are spending a lot more time out of their crate. And we have noticed, anyways, in our students and people who have reached out to us for help, is a lot of other problems are happening. There's a lot more, jumping up on furniture issues. There's a lot more barking issues. There's a lot more food possession issues. All of these things because the dogs are getting all of this freedom because people say, well, I'm home, so why would I put the dog in the crate? But one thing why this is sort of stemming with separation anxiety is one of the things that starts to happen is if the dog is free all of the time and they have an opportunity to be near you or to make their own decisions or to have their own self-rewards in the house, and then you need to go put them in the crate, and every time you put them in the crate, you leave the house or you go to sleep and you are gone. Dogs do not take long to figure out, you put me in there and then you leave me. Yeah. So I don't like when you leave because I want you to be close to me because that's how my life has been for the last 4 months. Or the dog says, I want to be able to do what I want to do. Why are you putting me in this crate? I want to be able to jump on the couch. I want to be able to eat that table leg. Yeah. Why am I in here? This isn't what I want to be doing.
That remote is delicious. Why am I being restricted?
So sometimes it's not separation anxiety. It's the dog saying, what the heck? You took my freedom away and I don't like that. Yeah. So separation anxiety is actually a very, very serious problem. And most of the time when people say, oh, my dog has separation anxiety, the dog doesn't have separation anxiety. They have behavioral issues. And that's a good thing because those are easier to fix than actual separation anxiety. Yeah, but back to my thing before about saying try not to just put them away or confine them or whatever you do and then leave. It's super important that if you're home, if you want to get your dog more comfortable with you leaving, they need to spend more time in their own when you're in the house. I know we actually went through this with Euchre. We went from creating her in our bedroom to creating her in the kitchen. And then there was lots of times when she was younger that we would pull the kitchen into the living room if we were going to watch TV. And then we started to notice that anytime she was in a different room than where we were, she would bark or she would whine in her crate because she couldn't see us. So we made a special point of making sure that she's not always created in the same room with us. Sometimes she's downstairs in the kitchen, we're working upstairs in the office, so that she just understands we're here, don't be stressed, but sometimes you need to go in there and you can't see us. Another thing that we sort of came up with, which I'm sure you guys will too, is we went through months where just so happened that Ken and I had never left the house at the same time. Somebody was always home with her, and we were going somewhere for like the first time, the two of us together, and we walked out of the house, and she started going bananas in the crate because she was like, what, you're both leaving? So luckily we didn't have to go anywhere on time, so we went back in and we addressed the barking, and then we sat outside on the steps for like however long, just looking at our phones and kind of waiting and going in every couple of minutes. Good girl, good quiet, so that we could train through it a little bit. But if we had just left, she would have probably been screaming and barking the entire time that we were gone. And that wasn't her fault. That was just because it was a brand new scenario that she had never seen before. And she went, oh my God, my people are leaving. This is so scary. So we had to work through it. But there's other things that you can do as well. I don't know if you want to get into giving them a Kong, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, let's mention it, because I think a lot of these guys might be finding that using the crate, and this is a really common complaint, that when my dog goes in the crate, they bark too much, or they're just not comfortable in there, or he hates it. You need to be
using it more then.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, and then you need to be making it a positive thing. One thing that we've done with all of our dogs, Euchre included, is every single day since the day we brought her home, she has had at least one of her meals in her crate. And it only took a few weeks of having her home, of her learning that one of her meals at least was going to be in her crate, that she would literally start running in all on her own without us even asking, because of the training, of the repeating. You go in your crate, I put your food down, and then you get to eat it. So she started to hear the kibble hit the bowl, and then she would start running into her crate all by herself. Again, I'm brainwashing her in a really wonderful way to say, you love this place. This is a place where you get to go and you eat your food. This is a place you get to go and get a peanut butter Kong. This is a place you get to go and I'm going to drop cookies in there. We always are teaching the dog it's a safe place. It's a comfortable place. But on top of that, we are making sure that the dog doesn't associate that crate with us specifically being in a certain location. Sometimes we're there, sometimes we're in the other room, sometimes we're out, going for a little stroll without her, whatever it might be. But I find, using a Kong or a bone or something to occupy them, we did that for a long time. I would ask Alexa to play some music. I would fill a Kong and I would give it to her about 5 minutes before we left, and she would be thinking about the Kong, and we would just slip out of the door quietly. But in the initial stages, we wouldn't go anywhere. We would just kind of hang out outside.
Like literally just outside the door.
Yeah. Totally. Actually, don't we have a video of that?
We probably do.
With her, didn't we? And I was like, what
actually,
is that?
For lots of links, maybe drop the, I think it might be crate location. I think crate location was one of them.
Yeah, or if it was the 24-hour one.
I can't remember.
One of the Euchre videos, we actually show that process of what we're doing in the house.
Lee dropping the $9.99 super chat. Lee says, I'm going to bring this up here. It's such a nice comment. Sending some love in a multiple of 3 as thanks to instructors Shandy, Steve, and Alexis for fielding questions. Chat. Thanks for the suggestions. Aww. Really nicely. That's very nice.
We have a great team.
We have an amazing team, for sure. Awesome. I've turned on subs only chat so that we can slow the chat down a little bit. Maybe we can catch more of the questions, but we need to move on because we've spent a lot of time talking about the initial couple things in our program tonight. But we 100% unequivocally have to talk about exercise and why that's so important, especially as your life changes, as you feel like you're busier with your dog. Let's talk a little bit about some of the things we do on a busy day with our dogs, with Euchre, a dog in training. And this is a great example. When we went to the city not too long ago, we had some ideas. We knew that was going to be mental and physical stimulation, exercise for her. And that's something that I think you as a dog owner can take into account as well. Yeah,
I think it's really important to get, walking your dog on a regular basis is really important. But sometimes for some dogs, that's not enough exercise to really have them come home and chill out and actually be tired. Right. For some dogs, you have to just walk them for so long. So sometimes implementing other things into your dog's daily schedule to kind of tire them out, so to speak, to just help them kind of relax a bit more when they're at home, which always leads to better behaviors, could be things like trick training, for example. Mentally stimulate them a little bit more. I know that anytime I do something that requires Euchre to have to problem solve or use her brain, she's always tired after. Maybe not physically tired, but she's mentally tired, which also leads to her just wanting to come in and like lie down and be a little calmer. The other thing that we have implemented with our puppy anyways, right from the get-go, is teaching her how to retrieve and play fetch.
Yeah.
And as a little puppy, it was really easy to play fetch like up and down the hallway in the house. We can't really do that anymore. She's giant, as you can see. Yeah. So we have to sort of go outside for that now. But it was so helpful. I can't tell you how many times I would be teaching classes all night, and then I would come home and have this 14-week-old puppy who's bouncing off the walls, and it's now 11 o'clock at night, and I think to myself, I don't want to do a training session. I'm not really going to take you for a walk. You don't know how to walk. So what can I do? Toy games. So, tug and retrieve, tugging out, playing fetch, teaching her to bring the toy back.
You know what? I've actually got something. The train station special tonight.
I actually used this with her.
That's
not
right.
This particular one, but I used this with her when she was a puppy.
Absolutely. So if you have a food-motivated dog, Kayl's designed this. She used it initially in agility, right? So that you could reward dogs at a distance.
Yeah, well, we still use it in agility.
Right. And it's a great way to reward those food-driven dogs and get them interested and engaged with toys. Yep. So this kind of exercise, I mean, how great is fetch? As long as you're being careful. But how great is you burn off tons of energy in a short period of time. I'll take, I would take Deegan out when she was younger, like 5, 6, 7 throws, and she's like, okay, this is great. I'm comfortable to go lay down on a bed now, or I'll go lay down in my crate.
What I liked about this, though, especially with younger dogs, like when I was training Euchre when she was younger to do this, is I could put food inside, and she started to figure out that if she brought this back, I would take a piece of food out of the middle and give it to her. And so it sort of led to her coming and learning to bring it to me and actually put it right in my hand so I could give her the treat, and then it just turned into just liking the actual toy and not worrying about the food inside. But these can really help for dogs that are more food motivated, that you want to kind of bridge the gap between food and toy.
Or if you have a dog,
or whatever. Even if your dog doesn't like food and they love toys, they'll love this
right.
too.
So this is another thing I was just thinking about. If your dog likes to get the toy and run away with it, these things, put a leash on it. You just put a little leash through the thing.
Hole.
Yeah, and now you've got complete control of the toy. It's a great way to teach fetch. And I will tell you that playing fetch is a great exercise.
And you can throw it in the house and not break things. And you can throw it at your husband.
That's right. Well, you can. You probably wouldn't, though.
Or would you?
Subscriber only Q&A. We've going to answer a few questions here from the from the chat. Cactus Bee Crafts. There's a video coming out. I'm not sure if it'll come out this week or next week about that talks a little bit about the treat retrieve trainer. We'll see.
Saturday. Look for Saturday.
Maybe, yeah. Check the channel on Saturday, and we'll see. Sunflower Child Care. I have a border collie who chases herds cats and people. What do we do?
Yeah, welcome to the club. We have border collies that like to chase vacuums and herd vacuums as well.
That's right.
So this is where, I don't know if you were on the live stream earlier, Sunflower Child Care. I'm sure that's not your actual name, but and if it is, that's cool.
That's a pretty cool actual name.
But earlier in the live stream, I showed about teaching the dog to go and lie down on a place. This is something that in our household anyways, with other dogs and things to herd, has been so valuable to teach the dog to go and lie down. In fact, I used it today when I was vacuuming the house. Our young border collie thinks the vacuum is like the most exciting thing, and she wants to bite it. Right. So we go on your bed, lie down, wait, and have her lay on the bed, and then I could vacuum. And she's lying there and she's vibrating. I'm not going to get that herding instinct completely out of her. She's a border collie, but what I can do is train her well and train her to understand to remain in position. Now, when she was younger, she didn't know how to hold position on the bed, so I would put her in the crate, in those scenarios. If you have a young border collie puppy who has the cats, it's very difficult to control the cats, but what you're going to need to do is control the puppy, have a line or have a leash on, and that you're not going to allow your puppy to chase after the cat or jump on the cat. The leash or line needs to be on, and start working on teaching alternative behaviors. And that placement thing where you teach them to go and lie on a spot, a mat, a bed, something, is a really, really great one specifically for this problem.
I've got another question that I think is really good, and it speaks to crates. Maria B. What about long-term confinement, like while working? I was thinking of a crate for a bed, but enclosed in a playpen inside the house.
Yeah, that's a good question.
It's a great question, and I think this is going to depend on your dog's stage of learning.
Yeah, it does depend on your dog's stage of learning. So, for example, Euchre, who's 8 months old, she's still in training. She doesn't listen 100% all of the time. She listens great, but she's still in training. I would not give her the the freedom of being able to choose whether she's in or out of the crate. That's something that I would insist that she goes in, the door shut, and then I know absolutely for sure that she's not getting into mischief even when she's in the enclosed place. So even when we're at work and, you know, when we're gone for several hours of the time, she's been properly exercised, fed, peed, pooped, she's tired, she's good to go. She can go in the crate for hours and it's not an issue. Now, we have older dogs. I would have no problem leaving them in that type of scenario because I have no training issues. There's, 100% respect. The dog understands not to touch anything in the house. I can give them a lot more freedom. But when you have a young dog in training, or if you're having any behavioral issues, that freedom is not something that I would give out right now. I would use the confinement of the crate. Just make sure that you've done your due diligence to make sure the dog's ready to go in the crate for an extended period of time.
And if you feel like it's too long, then you're going to have to get someone to let them out. If we had a young puppy and we had to be gone for several hours at a time, we don't
just do that cold turkey. And you also can build up to it.
Yeah, there's lots. I know there's all kinds of services, or maybe a friend or family member. We've had like the neighbors let out a dog, for a couple of minutes if
sometimes
necessary.
I'll just take the dog with me.
Yeah. Not everyone can do that, though.
No, this is true.
Anne says, what to do when walking along and suddenly an 8-month-old Borodor gets the zoomies, sometimes in the middle of crossing the road.
Well, this can be an adventure.
Yes,
this
I think
can be an adventure.
Yes.
So this is where you're going to have to work a little bit on some leash walking skills, Anne. Also, we do an exercise that we call settle and sit. So when our dogs start to get a little rambunctious, we teach them settle, sit. It's like having a little off button for the dog where they learn to be calm. Also, what I think you need to learn, Anne, is about some leash management skills, because it's really actually quite easy to stop those zoomies from happening if you know how to use the leash correctly. We recommend sliding your left hand down the leash and having it a little bit lower, but we often teach that when we're teaching the dog to walk at our side on a loose leash, and then we teach proper leash mechanics. So if the dog starts to move out of position, it's easy to get them back. But for you, with only having an 8-month-old dog, you probably haven't perfected walking on leash, I wouldn't imagine yet. So it's really important that you start implementing things like settle and sit. You could also maybe try different walking gear. So maybe something like a gentle leader, for example, might give you a little bit more control in those types of scenarios.
I just ended the poll. Thank you, guys. I appreciate it. The support. Should
thoroughly disappointed.
Shave Ken's head or give him a regular haircut? You guys voted regular haircut by 55%. Overwhelming.
Lame.
243 votes.
Lame.
Thank you, guys. I do appreciate it for sure. Now,
but if I wanted to shave your head, though, you would just let me, though, right?
Yeah, probably. I shaved my head for a long time, and I work.
So your head was shaved when we met.
You guys probably don't know, might not know this, but I've worked as a firefighter for more than 20 years now, and so I would shave my head regularly back when I was younger, and when Kayla and I met, I had a shaved head.
You did,
and I think I wore
it
well.
It'll be just like old times.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so in tonight's show, we talked about some of the new challenges after lockdown, people starting to visit your home. We gave you 3 different ways to approach these training challenges. We talked about dogs being under-socialized, the steps you need to take to make sure that as you introduce some of these things to your dog, that it's a positive experience, because that's really what we want to do. We want to be proactive about how we introduce them to some of these things. We talked a little bit about separation anxiety.
All the people are saying shave the head now. Where were you guys like a half hour ago? Come on.
Yeah, too late, guys. Polls closed.
What happens if it was Kayla shaver head? I wonder if the polls would be different.
I would think so. Exercise may be one of the more important things that you can do for your dog, because your exercise dog is going to make better choices. They're more likely, they're easier to manage because you've worked their little butts off. It's also, when we're talking about things like these kinds of training toys, it's a great engagement builder. It builds relationship. 100%. We use relationship a lot, and I know a lot of people are just like, well, I love my dog. But my dog
loves me.
That's right.
But it's not about that, though. It's about the dog really deciding if there's something that's exciting. Do they choose that, or do they choose you? Do they actually want to listen to you over and above everything else? Right. And that takes time to train.
100%.
That's a hard thing to accomplish. But that's why we have training. And that's why we go through all of these steps and we put the time and the work in, because then the dogs they love to do it.
Fort Road Massive. No tennis ball head. If you're bald, cool, but if not, no way. I've heard a lot of people say that kind of thing.
What?
That you know, if you're going bald, like guys at work or friends of mine, they'll just shave their head if they're going bald. But if not, if you have hair, you better like grow it out.
Yeah, but if you have hair, it'll just grow back.
That's a good point. Wow,
Yeah.
Kayl's really.
I mean, so what happens with hair. It grows back if you have it.
For the next 24 hours, this purple retrieve trainer is available. After that, no longer available. We might sell it in our store, like in our physical store.
Maybe.
But we're not going to be selling it online. So grab your train station special, the McCann Dog's purple retrieve trainer for Deb McCann's dog Purple, who we love very much. And
she's not purple.
her name is purple.
She's black and white.
Absolutely.
But her name is purple.
But I want to thank you guys for joining us. If this is your first time here, make sure you hit that subscribe button. We publish new videos every week to help you to have a well-behaved four-legged family member. We go live here in the train station every 2 weeks. So I'm pumped to see you guys 2 weeks from today. Huge thank you to our moderators, Dan the Moderator Man, Instructor Steve, Instructor Alexis, Instructor Shandy, and all of you guys for joining us. Now, with that said, with all of the teaching, all of the training, all of the things that we've done tonight, what's up?
I just wanted to say that tonight they get $30 off of Puppy Essentials or Life Skills if they sign up.
Okay.
And I just wanted to say that because it's important, because a lot of people think they have to wait for like the class to start, but literally you could sign up right after this live stream and then like join the class tomorrow. So you don't have to wait. You can just do it right now. That was worth saying. Sorry.
With all of the teaching, all of the training, all of the things that we've done tonight, the rest, my friends, it's up to you.
We do these live streams to educate you, but more importantly, to motivate you. You can have the dog that you've always wanted, but it's just going to take you a little bit of work.
I would know, because I was just like you. Long before I became a dog trainer, I was a frustrated dog owner, but the skills that I learned at McCann's changed my life. Now, we have hundreds of videos here on our YouTube channel to help you to have a well-behaved four-legged family member.
But if you want someone to guide you through the dog training process, then you should check out our Puppy Essentials program for puppies under 6 months. If your dog is over 6 months, then you could join our Life Skills program, and our instructors are going to help to make sure that everything goes as smoothly as possible in a really supportive environment.
Now, all of the knowledge about dog training in the world won't help you to be successful unless you get up and you start training. The real question is, what are you going to train next?
Happy training.